National News with Heather Butts.
Hello, I'm Marcia McMillan. Heather Butts is away tonight. The RCMP just provided an update on Tuesday's mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. And we learned a number of new details about the sequence of events, what happened at the school, and more on the weapons used. We'll have more on the guns coming up. But we want to begin with CTV's Andrew Johnson. Andrew, you were at that police update. Walk us through what we heard.
Marcia, this update with the commanding officer of the BC RCMP just wrapped up, and what we heard, in a word, was disturbing. Police say on Tuesday, 18-year-old Jesse Van Rutselaar went to the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, essentially, for a lack of a better term, they said, hunting students. They do not believe this person was targeting individual people, shooting anyone looking to kill. Police say when they arrived at the school, the first thing they heard was someone leaning out of a window at the school yelling, "The shooter's upstairs, the shooter's upstairs." And that's where officers went immediately on Tuesday, where they say they encountered gunfire, and then within seconds, Jessie Van Rutselaar took her own life. Police pointing out the importance of that quick response, believing it did save lives of students. Police will not release the details of the weapon that was used for the majority of the killing of these 12 and 13-year-olds plus a teacher at the school. Earlier, before going to the school, Van Rutselaar, police say, killed her mother and stepbrother. One of the weapons used in those killings was a shotgun that was unregistered. Its origin unknown, and they did not say what type of weapon was used primarily at the school, but that also they do not know where the killer obtained that weapon. Those are the details we've learned about the chain of events, Marcia, and also on the score, on the count of those victims. Autopsies are expected to be complete on those children, teacher and a mother, by the end of the weekend.
Yes, and police say that they are still appealing for anyone to come forward with any video they may have. Now, Andrew, the Prime Minister, the leaders of the federal opposition, and Governor General Mary Simon have all traveled together to be there at Tumbler Ridge tonight. Tell us what the plan is for them this hour.
At this point, Marcia, we're actually expecting Prime Minister Carney behind me here at the memorial that's grown near the community center in the town square, about 100 meters from the high school. He will be here soon, laying flowers at that memorial, where there is all kinds of flowers, stuffies, personal mementos, notes from teachers to students saying goodbye. Students they'll never teach again. They were shaping to become adults, and those victims will never make it there. It's such a devastating scene. People have been stopping by. That's where the Prime Minister will be first. Then there'll be a community vigil tonight, attended by the Prime Minister, the leaders of all of the federal parties, the British Columbia Premier. Certainly this town that is heavily grieving has been thrust into the spotlight this week, and perhaps no more so than today with the arrival of the leaders of our country, which is a very symbolic and visual example of how millions of people across Canada have come together for this small town. And we're going to see that symbolism tonight.
All right, we will be watching for that. Andrew Johnson in Tumbler Ridge. Andrew, thank you. And as we said at the top of the program, RCMP just provided some new details, as Andrew described, disturbing. We want to play some of that news conference for you. Let's listen.
Our officers arrived on scene, immediately went into the school. As you can imagine, it was chaotic. The fire alarms were going off. There was somebody that either leaned out or shouted out a window to our officers. The suspect is upstairs. He's upstairs. They entered the school, immediately went to the stairwell, proceeded to go up the stairwell, and were met with gunfire.
We also learned a lot of new details about the guns used in the mass shooting on Tuesday, 4 of them, in fact. Rachel Ayala was listening in. She joins us now with more. Rachel, what do we know about the weapons involved?
Marcia, these are one of the biggest areas of inquiries that we had been making to the RCMP involving this instance. And even just earlier today, the RCMP had told us they had said all they were going to on this front. So let's walk you through what we've just learned. As you rightly point out, the RCMP is saying there were 4 guns associated with this mass shooting. They are saying 2 were located at the residence, one of them an unregistered shotgun, and then 2, as we had heard before, were at the school. One of those they believe that caused the most damage, the RCMP is calling origins unknown. Here's a bit more from the BC RCMP commanding officer.
Of the firearms at the school, the main firearm, believed to be the one that caused the most significant damage, is origins unknown. It's never been in previous RCMP controlled, never been seized by us. We're trying to determine how our suspect got that firearm, and that investigation is continuing. Of the firearms in the residence, the shotgun is an unregistered weapon and has never been previously seized by police.
So, Rachel, have we learned anything about how the shooter got access to those guns?
Yeah, so the precise confirmation on that has yet to be confirmed, Marcy, but what we did learn in that press conference is that the deceased woman in the home, which we have confirmed is the shooter's mother, did have a valid PAL. Now, a PAL is a possession and acquisition license. And so that was part of the RCMP's update indicating there were multiple firearms located within that residence. And this was all tied to the questions of how, if the RCMP had visited this residence on multiple occasions over mental health concerns, were firearms returned to the home and were any of them used? Now, what we've just heard from the RCMP is that both the main shotgun located in the house as well as the firearm used at the school were not previously seized by the RCMP. So, Marcia, we can at least say that those weapons weren't the ones returned from police to the home. Marcia?
Rachel Aiello, thank you for that reporting, Rachel. Well, the small community of Tumbler Ridge deeply shaken by the events of this week, and the effects of this tragedy will last long after the politicians have gone. In a place where everyone has ties to everyone, healing will involve every single person who calls Tumbler Ridge home. CTV's Kathy Lee has been speaking with members of the community. Kathy, what are you hearing from people?
Marcia, despite the devastation, there is compassion and care from everyone that I've spoken to. It's a testament to how close everyone is in Tumbler Ridge. Amber Bell's love language is cooking. In the depths of profound grief, she is still making sure her community is fed.
My daughter and my husband and I went around to every single house last night and brought food.
The nourishment for those navigating a nightmare after 8 people, mostly children, were shot at the secondary school and this home in Tumbler Ridge. Bell's 2 children were in class at that time. They are safe, but her heart aches for the young ones that didn't make it out, all of whom she knew personally.
They were all so amazing in their own right, but for us personally, the loss of Kylie is devastating. She was a part of our family too. We've known her her whole life.
But even in her despair, the mother is buoyed by the support.
I feel the support. I can feel the love of the country, community.
In a community where everyone knows each other by name, the love is felt at every corner.
I've only been here 5 years, and I haven't lost that, but you know what? They're my kids too. They're my kids too.
This town has been through other difficult times, like a wildfire in the past, but they say they were resilient and overcame that, and will do the same this time by leaning on one another like they always do. Marcia.
Kathy Lee, thank you. We now know the names of the victims who died in Tuesday's mass shooting. One of them, 12-year-old Abel Mwansa Jr. He is among the 5 students killed at school. Abel was described by those who knew him as bright, driven, and a person who lit up everyone's world. CTV's chief anchor and senior editor Omar Sachedina is there, and he spoke with Abel's father, Omar.
Marcia, everywhere you look here in Tumbler Ridge, people are still walking around with a sense of shock and grief on their faces. No one more so than the families of the victims. Earlier today, I spoke with the father of 12-year-old Abel Mwansa. They came to this country 3 years ago from Zambia, and now the family is preparing to bury their son.
Everywhere you look around, there are memories of him. Even after somebody's gone, you still feel their presence. What is it that you will most miss about him?
I'll miss everything about Abel. You know, Abel has had a genuine, unique smile. When you look at Abel, even without saying anything to you, the only thing that you see are his teeth. He always used to smile.
What do you want to become when you grow up?
A musician.
What? Okay.
Because I told him that, you know, son, there are some conditions that cannot be treated by drugs or medicine. You need a smile. A smile is a perfect medicine that all of us human beings need. So I trained my son to be deliberate about smiling. So he can give you like the best smile that you've never seen. He had a beautiful smile. And I think that's one of the things that I'll miss about him.
Abel Monza Sr. says he only got 12 years with his son, but he is grateful for every single second. He said he was an avid soccer player and had dreams of becoming a scientist. You can watch more of my conversation with Abel Monza Sr. tonight on CTV National News. Marcia?
Omar, thank you for bringing us that. And yes, a programming note, CTV National News with Omar Sachedina will broadcast live from Tumbler Ridge again tonight at 11 p.m. on CTV and ctvnews.ca. The Tumbler Ridge shooting is a tragedy that hits really close to home for one northern Saskatchewan community. It's been 10 years since the deadly school shooting in the village of La Loche. CTV's Allison Bamford spoke to the local school division on how that community is still healing. Allison.
Marcia, after hearing the news from Tumbler Ridge, many in La Loche are reliving January 22nd, 2016, the day of the school shooting in the northern Dene community. The village marked 10 years since the tragedy last month. In some ways, Tumbler Ridge parallels the shootings in La Loche that took place at both a private house and the local school. The 17-year-old shooter killed his two cousins at their family home before making his way to the Dene High School, there killing a teacher and teacher's assistant while injuring 7 others. In the weeks, months, and years following, the Northern Lights School Division, which oversees La Loche, says the school needed to address mental health and security concerns. Up until this year, the high school closed its doors on every anniversary of the shooting to support those still healing. A decade later, they've decided the school will remain open for a day of service.
Definitely an ongoing journey of healing that took, many years, and still, and there'll still be years to come.
The Northern Lights School Division has already reached out to the BC School District, offering support where it can, knowing the challenges that Tumbler Ridge will face in the aftermath of this tragedy. Marcia?
Allison, thank you for that. As we go to break, we just want to recap what we heard from RCMP a few moments ago as they gave new information about what happened on Tuesday. Again, they also gave more details and a new photo of Jesse Van Rootselaar. Investigators are examining the suspect's personal history as they seek to determine what led to the violence. They say that they are going over the person's social media, the suspect's activity online, and they want to make sure that everything they release is verified. In addition, we heard new chilling details from police on what happened. They say that police entered the school immediately. Someone from the upper level of the school of Tumbler Ridge shouted, "The shooter is upstairs." Police say that was critical to emphasize how their initial response was. And from that moment, there was no other interaction with the shooter. As well, we learned that there were 4 firearms involved, 2 at the school, 2 at the residence. At this hour, we are waiting for the Prime Minister to arrive here at Tumbler Ridge for a vigil. He will be laying flowers in memory of the victims. CTV News will be right back with more news. A day after President Trump reversed a landmark scientific ruling that was key in the fight to lower greenhouse gas emissions, a new study shows Canada is not on track to meet any of its climate targets. The country is lagging behind the 2026 emissions target, the 2030 Paris Agreement commitment, and the long-term goal of reaching net zero by 2050. The Canadian Climate Institute report suggests Canada is off target thanks to, quote, a slackening policy effort. The growing affordability crisis in the U.S. ahead of November's midterm elections might offer Canada some relief from crushing American tariffs. U.S. media is reporting President Trump may scale back tariffs on steel and aluminum. And when asked today by CNBC, his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said, "We'll see." But as CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon reports, that may just be wishful thinking.
Every chance he gets, the U.S. president trumpets his tariffs.
The economy is doing unbelievable. We right now have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
But he's battling the cost of living crisis in America and low approval ratings before the midterm elections. The Financial Times reporting the Trump administration may be having a rethink about those steep steel and aluminum tariffs that could affect Canada.
I don't think it's great reporting that we saw today. If anything is done, I think it would be sort of clarification on some incidental objects. But again, that's going to be the president's decision.
Canadian metals were slapped with a 50% tariff early this year, justified as a national security crisis. Canada retaliated, but this tit-for-tat tariff blitz has led to higher costs for consumers, paying more for groceries, electronics, cans, and cars. The American Nonpartisan Tax Foundation reports that tariffs will cost the average U.S. household $1,300 more in 2026.
There's definitely pressure because it is hitting different markets, and we're seeing that in the auto sector as well. Like Ford's earnings last week were dismal. So it's a situation where tariffs don't always work.
Even if the president is considering rolling back tariffs on steel and aluminum, here's what he posted just 2 days ago. Canada has taken advantage of the United States on trade for many years. They are among the worst in the world to deal with.
U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said there likely won't be a rollback of the tariffs, more of a clarification or possible exemption on certain items like refrigerators and washers. But then again, Marcia, it's the president's call.
All right, Joy, thank you for that. Joy Malbon in Washington. A new crew of astronauts are barreling through space towards the International Space Station, replacing the astronauts who returned to Earth early in NASA's first medical evacuation.
And liftoff. Go Falcon, go Dragon, and Godspeed Crew 12.
The crew of 4 blasted off this morning from Cape Canaveral in a successful launch from SpaceX and NASA. They're scheduled to arrive at the orbiting lab tomorrow to begin a mission that's expected to last about 8 months. We'll take a quick break and be back with more on the other side. You're watching CTV National News. There's a unique gathering place for Canadian athletes and their families at the Winter Games. It's a home away from home where every detail reflects this country and our passion for winter sports. CTV's Heather Butts takes us to the Canadian Ice Palazzo in Milan.
In the heart of Milan is a place that feels like home for Canadians. The Hockey Canada Ice Palazzo is a community hub for Team Canada hockey players, speed skaters, figure skaters, and their families.
All in one venue. So we don't do things together very often. And it's great to be able to work with the other sports, and that's one of the beauty things of the Olympics. It really does provide those opportunities to do things together.
The red carpet entranceway, complete with Italian mosaics shaped with a maple leaf design, celebrates Olympic champions in all ice sports.
It's really honoring people spanning several decades, actually, here.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, the Canadian Olympic Committee puts up a Canada House, but faced challenges with the Games so widespread. With Milan hosting hockey, speed skating, and figure skating, those organizations saw this as a natural fit.
This is our theater room. Come on in, Heather. We put the director's chairs at the front for people to be able to sit in the director's chairs and watch the event. And then really tried to decorate the walls again to celebrate historic Canadian champions.
Every detail and activity has been carefully thought out to promote fun and family engagement, right down to the hockey helmets.
Walk outside and there's an expansive courtyard complete with a skating rink. Rory, the son of hockey player Natalie Spooner, skating his heart out all afternoon.
Obviously, we want to win gold, but at the same time, I think our families have had a huge impact on us and making sure that we get here. So in a sense, this is also a space for them to be able to enjoy the Olympics.
A space for families to unite.
How's it going, buddy?
Like hockey player Bo Horvat's parents.
It still kind of seems surreal, actually. We're just thrilled that he made the team.
It's been great. You get to meet a lot of the other families, the parents, their friends, their families. And they all, just like the team, they all gel together and everybody's having a really good time.
We're being followed by the next Canadian superstar here. He's ready to roll.
Here, kids can play while the athletes live the Olympic dream.
I would call it an investment in Canadians. So as we looked at it from a Hockey Canada perspective, we said, how do we invest in sport and make families feel they're part of something?
Heather Butts, CTV News, Milan.
CTV National News will return in just a moment with new details from the RCMP on the shooting in Tumbler Ridge. Returning now to our top story, the shooting in Tumbler Ridge. We heard from RCMP a short time ago as Mounties released a new image of the shooter, Jesse Van Rootselaar. Police described in detail to reporters about what happened on Tuesday once they received that call. They said that they entered the school immediately as someone shouted the shooter is upstairs. Police emphasizing how critical that first response was. So far, 80 witnesses have been interviewed. They expect to have the autopsies of the victims all processed and done by the end of the weekend. We also heard chilling details from police on what this shooter was doing at the time, describing it as hunting, that there were no specific targets. Let's listen to some of what the RCMP had to say.
Our officers arrived on scene, immediately went into the school. As you can imagine, it was chaotic. The fire alarms were going off. There was somebody that either leaned out or shouted out a window to our officers. The suspect is upstairs. He's upstairs. They entered the school, immediately went to the stairwell, proceeded to go up the stairwell, and were met with gunfire.
And we are now looking at pictures of the Prime Minister as well as other leaders of the opposition. They have all traveled to Tumbler Ridge together to lay flowers at the vigil in memory of the victims. Let's take a bit of this sound as we watch the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister earlier in this week calling this a week of mourning for Canada. We will continue to cover all of the developments from Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. That is our newscast. I'm Marcia McMillan.